time to party!
Indeed it is. It's time to party, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Party People Podcast. We just started using that intro video, and I love it, guys. I just love it. I think it's so awesome. It was done none other by my little brother. He goes by Malachi Music. So if you somehow can find him, follow him. He went to Full Sail. He's doing a great thing, and he's trying to make his way. But he's a beast. He did that in like 20 minutes, that thing. So he's awesome. But nonetheless, I love it, and I believe that's a good segue into our topic for today. That was a music piece that he created. We wanted to do our own unique intro, and so we love music, and so you guessed it, drum roll. Do I need a drum roll since we're doing music here? I'm just kidding. But we're talking about music today, guys. We're talking about the impact of music in our lives. We're talking about the right way to go about music. Guys, the question is, how do you deal with music as a Christian? Should you only listen to hymnals? Should you get rid of the piano, get rid of the guitars, only sing? Should you go to a heavy metal rock church, headbanging for Jesus? What's the deal, guys? I don't know. So we're going to talk about that today, but we're going to come at it from a unique perspective. We hope so. And we hope it blesses you, because I guarantee there's a lot of you out there, if not all of you, that are listening that have a personal encounter with music and the impact it's had on your life. And so we're talking about it today, guys. So first and foremost, let me introduce myself and the rest of the party squad. My name is Aaron.
I'm Harlie.
And this is Trey.
And this is Trey. So we are the Party People Podcast, and we're so excited to join with you again. We love doing this. We've had people reach out, and we're just thankful for that. We don't do it for our notoriety. We're doing it because we hope that you can join in on the conversation and be blessed in the name of Jesus. And so,
Amen.
Talking about music today. And so I'm going to kick it to Harlie, me and Trey's mentor, and we're going to discuss music. But we're also going to give you a little bit more of an insight into who we are actually. We've got some requests to discuss who we actually are and why we're doing this. And so we're going to use music as that medium. So Harlie, go ahead and take it.
Yeah, guys, I appreciate it, Aaron. Man, guys, we have had countless conversations about music, and we have seen the good side and the bad side of the fact that the three of us are really inspired and encouraged and fueled by music. There's an aspect of our walk and our history. I mentioned the other day that I can remember certain seasons I was in very specifically when I hear certain songs. And that happens when I hear secular songs. And guys, when I say secular, I mean stuff that comes out on, the top 40 or non-Christian music platforms. I can also remember certain seasons and certain aspects of my life when I hear Christian music. So my point is, there's an aspect of, or there's something in psychology that says certain smells bring back certain memories. Well, yes, but for me, certain music brings back certain memories. So a quick rundown, what that looks like in my history then is I can mark seasons when I'm walking with the Lord versus when I'm walking with myself based on what music I was tuned into in that time. And guys, does this mean that I'm telling everybody that they should only listen to Christian music? I'm not telling you anything. That's between you and your God. In the Lord. So that's something you have to answer for yourself. But for me, I know very clearly that depending on what I'm listening to, whether it be, Christian music versus secular music, it very much leads me down either walking much closer with the Lord, or it leads me down going into insanity is really the best way to say it. Guys, I've talked a little bit before where my past is really, I love seeing people healed. I love seeing people walk in freedom. I love seeing people breaking addiction. Well, the reason why that is because I've walked in all those things. I've walked in addiction. Um, I've walked in brokenness, and addiction has torn apart big parts of my life. Well, when I struggled, the times I struggled with addiction, one thing that was always a parallel with that was the types of music that I was listening to. Um, Again, guys, am I I know a lot of Christian guys. I know a lot of y'all right now that go to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. You're a member of every prayer ministry at your church, interceding, and before you pull into the church parking lot, you're blowing up AC/DC. I know you are. Am I telling you to stop that? You need to go seek the voice of the Lord of that.
Mm.
At the same time, guys, we need to be aware. We need to be aware of what's in the music we're listening to, because some of those things that you're fighting, some of those blockers to the answers to your prayers, may be what you're agreeing with as some of this music is pouring into your ears, because it goes into your ear gates, guys, and then it goes into your heart gate. It's almost like a window to your soul. And I know they say the eyes are the window to the soul, but guys, for me, my ears, in a big way, when it came to music, was definitely a window to my soul. Trey, I know you've had some. We're going to talk. We're going to talk about, in a couple of different ways, of a couple of different seasons of our life, in specific areas where music has either had a positive impact or a negative impact. So we're going to go around and talk a little more about this, but I'm going to pause there, Trey. What say you about some of the music that has spoken to different seasons of your life?
Wow. Man, that's a good question, Harley. When we were just even thinking about discussing this topic, one of the questions that came to my mind is, what, as a Christian, how do you even define music? Like, on a Christian worldview, what is music? What's its purpose? What do we make of it? And it's, to me, it boils down to this: music is supposed to be, and it was given as a gift from God and a tool for worship. When you think about, in the book of Revelation, in this picture you get about the new heavens and new earth and the worship that's going on there, it is going to involve music. You read the Psalms; they're full of praises. Yes, and this may be a little controversial, and there are references to instruments as well. Um, but so the Bible doesn't come out and strictly define music. It just kind of presupposes it and talks about it, and deals with it. Especially dealing with the culture that the Bible was written in. In the Old Testament, that's ancient Israel. In the New Testament, that's Israel, but in this new Greco-Roman world. And so, as a Christian, I know that I'm called to, whatever I do, I'm called to glorify God with it. And that includes the music that I listen to. That includes the music that I enjoy. So, to answer your question, Harley, I can really look at certain seasons of my life and see that they're marked by certain albums, certain artists, certain songs. I mean, I am a music junkie. I love, love, love music. It's one of my passions. At my job, and at my 9 to 5 job, and I go in early in the morning and I stock. All day I'm listening to music. And in darker seasons of my life when I wasn't walking with the Lord, that was reflected in a lot of the music I would listen to. It would take on a more aggressive, darker, less godly tone. And I'm here, guys, I'm not talking strictly genres. Like, I love Christian rock. I love hard Christian rap. But I'm speaking here about lyrics and content. And then at times when I've walked closely with the Lord, I've seen how that's reflected in my music as well, where it's a lot more worship oriented. So music has influenced me spiritually and in my way of thinking. And also my relationship with God has influenced the music that I listen to. To Harlie's point, I'm not going to tell anybody what they overtly don't listen to this group or listen to this. Don't listen to that genre, but listen to this. I will say, I think, and I'm not going to name any groups here, there are some songs that should be more obvious or clear. As a Christian, I probably shouldn't just be listening to this. There's no way I could even conceivably glorify God to this. But at the same time, music fits kind of into one of those, I would say, gray areas where it's a matter of personal conviction. And God deals with us on it differently. So those are my preliminary thoughts.
I want to throw
Yeah.
I want to throw a curveball into that, Trey, and we have done a podcast in the past about 15 minutes ago about unanswered prayers, and something so what I'm going to throw in here real quick is if you're out there and you're praying about something and it's really heavy on you and you feel like you're not hearing an answer to a prayer, and all you're listening to is stuff about partying and hanging out with guys or hanging out with girls or on a highway to hell or cut it, y'all know there are way worse. I'm being PG here, but
You're being modest, yeah.
but if that's all you're listening to and you're wondering, God, why am I not seeing you in my life? Just think about that, guys. Think about that. I'm with you. I'm not, but at the same time, and Aaron, we're going to pitch this back to you now. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell anybody, because I know if somebody tells me what I'm supposed to do, especially in regard with working through, like letting go of music of seasons past to embrace a different style of music or that's somebody, you have to walk through that with you and the Lord. Nobody is going to tell you what to do in that. But I will bring that out. Just if you're really struggling in a certain area of your life, or you're really struggling for an answer to prayer, to again, we're trying to make this episode a little more personal. So I'll tell you guys, when I was in recovery for alcohol, I had to throw out all the Hank Williams, all the George Strait, all the Willie Nelson, all the Johnny Cash, all the Merle Haggard, because all that triggered me to want alcohol. So I knew very clearly for me, again, just like we were talking earlier about sowing seeds, if I'm sowing seeds listening to those guys and I'm trying to stay sober, those don't mix. Those don't mix.
Yeah. I would say likewise for myself. And and I for those who are watching via YouTube, and kind of see this and it's obvious, but I come from a multicultural background, being biracial. Dad's black and mom's white. And so I grew up being exposed to a lot of different genres of music. I'm not saying you have to be biracial to be exposed to a lot. It was just my personal setting. It was how I was exposed. And I remember times when I was a teenager, really struggling with dealing with loneliness, coming of age, trying to find myself, figure out my place in the world. Who am I? Trying to fit in. All those existential issues. I would rely on music as an escape. But a lot of the music I would try to escape to try to serve as an identity marker for me, it actually negatively would impact my thinking and the way that I perceive myself for the world. For me, back in the day, it was a lot of heavy secular rap. Nothing against rap. I love rap as a genre, has a way of expression. I love rap music. But the kind of rap that I was listening to, the content mentally would put me in a bad place. And I felt convicted during that season of really trying to learn how to walk with God, that there was some of it I would have to do away with, because it was, what do you call it, Harley, a blessing blocker?
Amen.
It was an impediment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A
And that's
sanity
just part.
sanity blocker a lot of times.
Right. Right. And you'll learn as we go on. And let me kick it off to you in a moment, Aaron. You learn as we go on the kind of alternatives I found to scratch that itch that I had for rap. Because, like I say, I love rap, but the kind of rap I was listening to, the Holy Spirit would really check me on it. I'll pause there because I can keep rambling on here. I was going to bring up another parallel, but Aaron, I want to kick it over to you. What say you, my
Sure,
friend?
yeah. I've enjoyed hearing that. We all kind of know each other's stories with music, and this idea came from a particular Marco Polo that we all did, where we just discussed our history with music, and we loved it, and so we were like, well, let's do that on the podcast. And so let me just start off by describing my musical connection and story with a quote. They say R&B is for the ladies, but that ain't true. It's actually for the fellas. So my connection to music really got kicked off through R&B, and it's not because of the area I grew up in. I grew up in the suburbs of Midlothian, Texas, where you don't really picture an R&B scene in Midlothian, Texas, but I grew up in country. So, but I couldn't stand it. I don't know why. I couldn't stand country music, and so I kind of started to search for my own. And the era that I grew up in, and that's when Chris Brown, T-Pain, all these R&B guys, even a little bit of Brian McKnight and the old school stuff too, was starting to just circulate a lot in the schools I was going to. And so R&B just like, it just kind of, how that certain music, when you hear it, it just kind of, it gives you that tingle. You're just like, oh, that's my music right there. That was R&B for me. And if you know anything about R&B, it is let me just say, it could be categorized as very sexual. And so if you look at the history of my life, the primary struggle that I had in my life was sexual immorality. That was the biggest struggle in my life. Now, I've dealt with everything you can think of under the sun, alcohol, drugs, this and that. But my primary struggle was sexual immorality. And I think you can trace it back. It's not to place blame and be like, it's all their fault.
Right.
Now they shouldn't have been those kind of influences. But nonetheless, me listening to that and just having that flow through my brain day in and day out, it definitely provoked the sexual side of me that shouldn't have matured that fast. I often look at it as like this, like in relationships, I think there's like three pillars or three areas. There's the spiritual side, there's the physical side, and there's the emotional side. If any one of those progresses too fast, you're looking for a very a poor relationship, a very harmful relationship. And that's, to me, music really pulled out the sexual side of me too fast. And to a point, I'm gonna put it all out there, guys. This is a huge part of my story. The big part of my story is I went to a friend's party when I was in sixth grade, and his high school sister exposed herself to me. And during that season is when I really started listening to R&B music. And so there was this connection that the enemy, let me just put it out there, the enemy allowed to synchronize. And it was this idea of like, wow, I can have this, exactly what they've been talking about in this music I'm listening to. So it almost made me realize like, oh, I don't have to be a poser anymore. I can really live this lifestyle. And that was a subconscious thing. It wasn't like I was literally sitting there going like, oh, this is my end, to actually relating to these guys, because I wanted to relate. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to relate to these guys. I wanted to be able to listen to music and say, I know what they're feeling. I know exactly what they're feeling. And so I went through this journey of, even though I was in the church, guys, I couldn't stand worship music, to be honest with you. I couldn't stand worship music because the worship music I was used to was Baptist hymnals. Now, I will say in this time of my life, Baptist hymnals, I can't listen to them without weeping. They are beautiful, beautiful pieces of music.
For real.
But as a young teenager that has all these enticing hell's bells out there, I ain't listening to hymnals. And so I started to kind of go into that route and listening to that. I mean, I listen to it all the time, guys. I mean, I was practicing the moves in the mirror. You know, I was trying to dress like
Is
them.
there any video of this?
There is video, but you will not see it on the Party People podcast. I dance to a different tune these days.
You move to the beat of a different drum.
That's right. That's right. But nonetheless, it led to so much stuff. I mean, I engaged in sexual activity way before I should have, outside of marriage. And of course, that leads to other things too. Like it's not like I just stuck on that one immorality. Like it led to having to keep up this image with my peers, and that led to other things. That led to the alcohol. That led to the drugs. And guys, I was often doing this stuff with church-going people. It wasn't even so-called secular people. It was people in the church. And so that led me on this route. And through high school, I was still sticking to that stuff. And I got to this point where, just to share, where the shift really changed for me. I was actually at a basketball game, and I had been injured that season, so I couldn't play anymore. So my image had already been destroyed. This image that I thought I had built up, it was destroyed. No one really cared about me anymore. I was very lonely during that season. That just so happens to be the season that I met you guys, Harlie and Trey. But I was at a basketball game, and this rap song came on. And I remember thinking, man, this sounds tight. Like this is awesome. Like, man, who is this? You know, I was thinking it was just another secular rapper. I didn't really connect the dots that you can rap and rap about good stuff. And my friend, who actually was not a churchgoer, not a believer in Jesus, leaned over and he said, "Of all people, you don't know who this is?" And I was like, "No." Side point, that can show you how blind you can become when you're listening to filth. And I was like, "No, I've never heard this guy. And why are you so shocked that I haven't heard of him?" He was like, "Man, this is Lecrae. He's a Christian rapper. He raps about God." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "You can rap about God and sound that good?" And that was the first encounter I ever had with Christian music that was performed excellently to the glory of God,
right,
that I felt like I could relate to. And so before you knew it, I started researching them, and it was kind of this secret obsession I started to gain, because I didn't want people to know. I was like, I don't want people to know I'm listening to Christian rap, you know, because it's corny, you know. And so I started doing some secret research, and I came across guys like KB, T-Bone, you know, old school one, Gospel Gangsters, you know, Grits. I came across Lamp Mode, and that led me to even like gospel music, like Commissioned and stuff like that. And so I just started going down this whirlpool of just excellent gospel music. And my life was changed forever because of that. And it just so happens that I ended up meeting you guys, and Trey ended up kind of at that same time falling in love with Christian hip hop as well. And so I remember we spent most of our days trying to re-rap Tripoli's The Good Life. And Harlie, I'm sure you remember us trying to rap like he did. And what's cool, guys, if we're talking about this, is actually last weekend. Oh, speaking of, there you go. There's the rap group right there. 116 stands for Romans 1:16.
A shout out.
We are unashamed of the gospel. I just went to their concert a couple weekends ago for my birthday. So, anyways, that's kind of the long story short, even though it was still kind of long, of my connection to music. It led me down this path of trying to fit in, and then everything crumbled in the blink of an eye, and I re-encountered music, not through worship music. And guys, let me I'll end with this point so that y'all can keep going with it. Pass the baton here. I have experienced more worship in my heart from Christian rap than I have encountered through explicit worship songs in the church. That's not to say those are bad. Those are beautiful. But when I was growing up, I didn't really care about Hillsong. I didn't really care about, and I know they're going through a whole bunch of scandals right now. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the music. I just really wasn't into it. It didn't get to me, you know. And Harley, to your point, to this day, if I ever allow any kind of R&B into my ears, it triggers emotions from way back then, and it feels like glass in my ears these days. And so, with that being said, I'll continue to pass the torch to you guys to take it from there. But that's my personal encounter with music. So
Yeah, it's you know, I was thinking about something the other day. My mom and I were talking. We do a Bible study every Monday or Tuesday with my mom and my daughter and my future son-in-law. And she asked me something. We were on a very controversial topic, and it had to do with. Well, I won't even get into that right now. But what I was trying to explain to her, well, all right, you guys know they call it TV programming. Hey, I want to watch this program. It's called programming because they're trying to program us. But that's it's an entirely different topic for another day.
that's next week's podcast, guys. Tune in.
So, but my mom was like, well, she asked me something and it brought up a memory from high school. All right. And so for me, guys, my junior year in high school, which would have been circa 1990 to 1991. Guys, that year, man, I mean, I dealt with anger before. My dad had some anger issues. Again, not that he was really bad to us, but, you know, he would blow up and stuff. And for me, that really never meant. I mean, I was always a chill kid. I dealt more with fear than I did anger. And of course, anger comes from fear. But as far as the expression of it, I mostly expressed through fear versus through anger. Well, my junior year, that all changed. And I really struggled with anger. Well, I didn't put it together until many, many, many years later. But the year before that, my sophomore year, I discovered Metallica's "And Justice for All" album. And for me, I think that, don't quote me on this, I think that came out in 1988, maybe 89. It may have come out a little bit later. No, I think it did. It came around. But anyway, I heard the song "One" from that album on 97.1 KEGL in Dallas, Texas. Before that, I mostly listened to, you know, older rock. I love Pink Floyd. I mean, all these different kind of bands. Guys, when I heard that, everything within me went off. It struck a chord inside of me, and I said, this music has been around and I didn't know about it? How come nobody told me about this? It changed the trajectory of my life completely. Now, was I walking with the Lord then? No, I didn't care anything about God. I didn't care anything about God. I got saved going through a class in church in the 6th grade. And I got saved because at the end of it, they said, okay, you're going to be saved. Here you go. I mean, it was nothing. It was no personal relationship kind of thing. It was a class. You went through it. At the end, you were saved. So for me, I bring all that up to say, if you haven't heard Metallica's "And Justice for All," in my opinion, and if anybody else listens to this that, you know, likes that style of music, everybody has their album that really set them off. And we all have our albums that set us off. But right. that particular album from that particular group in that particular time, it was like the entire album had to be listened to from start to finish because every song flowed into the other perfectly. And you guys know what I'm talking about.
That's a lost art. Yeah, that's a lost art.
It is. Yeah. It is. And so I heard this song on the radio, went out and got the album, went out and got some of their other albums. Well, if you haven't heard anything from Metallica, well, where you been? But if you have, you know the music is fast, it's loud, it's in your face. And that particular album, guys, it was angry. And there was other albums that Metallica did that were angry too, but this was angry in a way that spoke to my junior year heart. So again, this was from sophomore to junior year. By the time I got to the junior year, guys, I was angry at everybody. And to your point, Aaron, it in that same period of time, the enemy also used relationships. A gal that I was dating that went through we went through a really difficult point of our relationship during that time that really kind of wounded me for forever after that. And so my point in saying all that is this: I opened the door to that. I heard that and I went, oh, that's good. I need me some more of that. What did that do? That allowed the enemy to latch something into my soul. That led me down a road where I quit playing football, which was fine. That's no big deal. But then I started playing music. I got in a band. Was dating a girl. It went really south. There was a lot of broken hearts there. And so for me in my walk, and I'm not saying this is for everybody else, but for me in my walk, that opened doors to the enemy just being able to bring total chaos into my life. When my parents got divorced. I had a stepmom that was really tough. She was diagnosed with some stuff. But it wasn't as chaotic as that time in my life was. And again, guys, if you're living your life and you're listening to Metallica and it don't mean nothing to you, man, that's between you and God. I bless you. I'm not telling anybody what to do or what not to do. But again, when I hear anything off that album, it immediately takes me to that place where I'm ready to fight.
Yeah.
Where I'm ready to, throw all responsibility out the window and just go and do something incredibly stupid. That's the most PG way I can say
Harlie, it sounds like you need to listen to some more R&B. It's make love, not war.
Yeah, man. And
man.
Of course, I shared with you guys that the music train didn't stop there for me. It went in a lot of different other places. And so for me, guys, and for us at that time in our life, we really only had Amy Grant and Stryper. That was our two choices of and let me tell you what, I bless Amy Grant. She is an amazing songwriter. But again, to your point, Aaron, as a kid, with kind of that edge, Stryper didn't scratch that edge. Amy Grant didn't scratch that edge. And here's the thing: where I was walking in my life at the time, I didn't want to follow God. I wanted to follow this chaos. And I wanted to take it as far as I could to see if I could experience it. To your point, Aaron, the need for acceptance, the need for camaraderie. I wanted to push that chaos as far as I could to see if I could experience it without it burning me. And I couldn't. If we push that, and again, guys, I'm not condemning people for the music, but for me in my life, I was just daring. Every part of me. Push as far as you can push. Go as far to the edge as you can. You're indestructible anyway, which is a lie from the pit of hell. You're indestructible as a kid anyway. Push it. See how far you can go. And again, for me, that's what I did. I'm not blaming Metallica. I'm blaming me and I'm blaming the enemy. But that launched me into a self-destructive whirlwind that lasted for, guys, really, it lasted for decades after that time period.
Harlie, it's crazy. It was a side note that you made about television and TV programming, but it's crazy because it goes to the point that what you watch and what you listen to can have tremendous impact on your mind and on your heart. For me, R&B, going back to your point, Aaron, R&B is actually my favorite genre. But I have to be real where I am right now in my walk with the Lord. I have to be real selective about what R&B I do or don't listen to. Especially um, more up to date R&B. Let me just put it that way. That's even
Yeah.
more explicit.
That's porn for your ears.
Yeah, I'm just being honest. Yeah, and so where I am now is it depends on particular songs, their content, their lyrics. If I can listen to it and it's something that I can get enjoyment out of, can I listen to this and glorify God to it? Is it neutral? Is it at least consistent with that? If it's something that's going to be overtly wicked, evil, shameful, blasphemous, you name it, I can't listen to it. And if I do, if it is something that I used to really enjoy early in my walk, if I try to listen to it now and it fits those kind of categories, I get really convicted about it. Not condemnation,
Yeah.
but I get conviction about it.
And Trey, for me at this point in my life, it makes me feel like Joseph, where I have to run. I have to run from it.
You have to run. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if you feel the same way
Yeah.
about certain songs, but like you're immediately like, no, mute it, turn it off. I can't go there.
Yep.
Well, for me, it's
Yeah.
like
It's glass in my ears. Yeah.
there's been times where I'll listen to certain songs and say, "Hey, I remember listening to this back in the day," and I'm no longer who I am now is not who I was then. I listened to it a little bit, and somewhere after the first couple minutes of it, and it's not necessarily one particular song, just any that fit that category that I mentioned earlier. Somewhere along the line, I start getting convicted over it, and because I know
Yeah.
it'll take me not to give too much power to music, but mentally it brings back memories of those past seasons and
Mm-hmm.
places that I don't want to go again. So I don't run
Yeah. I
from it like
mean,
I should, but
And
I
so,
get to the
yeah. I
point
mean,
where I'm convicted and put it down.
so to that point, like, do you think, Trey, I know my answer to this, but do you think, Trey, you'll ever get to the point that you can listen to that again and be like, oh, I'm good?
Certain songs, no. Certain songs, no. Yeah.
So this is something that, and this is the point I wanted to bring home. There are some things, there's one aspect of everybody's life on the earth that if they want to walk forward, they have to leave certain things in the past forever. We can be 80 years old and still we can't go back to that well. Because that well, and again, and maybe it's music, maybe it's TV, maybe it's movies, maybe it's women, maybe it's whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
anything used improperly. Everybody has their own thing that if they go back to that, it's going to take them and it's going to take them backwards.
Yeah.
And for me,
it's true.
as we've talked on here before, one big thing for us that has that power, that can have that power in our life, is music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's to clarify too, like, or to add on, not clarify, but to add on to that, music can be an addiction.
Oh
It can
yeah.
actually, I don't know if you already said that, but it can be an addiction beyond. I mean, guys, think about, I mean, even just like soda, that can be an addiction. We tend to water down these things and think, oh, the only things that can be addiction are sex, drugs, and alcohol. Those are the only addictions, or porn. Porn is starting to surface as a bad addiction. Um, but even think about back in the day, about how porn wasn't really considered that big a deal. Cigarettes weren't considered that big a deal. Um, Music, I think music and social media and these different platforms, I think are the modern day cigarette. I really do. I think they're going to get to a point where they're saying, "Man, look at the impact it has on your brain." And we're kind of coming to an end here. I guess we want to treat this as more of an intro, and we'll continue this conversation because I think it's worth having as far as music goes. But I kind of want to end on some scripture real quick, if y'all don't mind, and dealing with music. And so I want to take y'all to Second Chronicles chapter 20. And if you want to see if there's anybody out there that believes music wasn't created by God and it shouldn't be used for God, I want to show you this passage, and this is Old Testament, guys. This is Old Testament. But in 2 Chronicles 20, you have Jehoshaphat, who has many nations rising against him. And I could tell you the whole story, but I'm pretty much just going to tell you what he did to win the battle. What he did to win the battle was he used music. He sent a worship team before the army. Guys, you don't see the Ukrainian army sending out a worship team in front of Russia. I don't know how every podcast we do comes back to government. I don't know. but you don't see that. And guys, the Bible's not soft. Like, if you read the Bible at all, like, there is some hardcore stuff in this Bible that we read. It is not soft. Jesus is not soft. And one of the weapons that he gave Jehoshaphat was worship. They went out before him, and it says that once they started to worship, the enemy was confused, literally attacked themselves, and there was not one person living. Now, I don't know how the last guy died. I don't know how that all worked out, but there was not one person living, and it started with worship. And so I know we're running out of time here, and we just kind of want to treat this as an intro to our stories and how much music has been a part of our stories. But I want to end with that. I want to end with the idea that music is a gift from God.
It is.
And just like anything else, we have the temptation to pervert it and conform it to our flesh. Because what does your flesh say? Your flesh says, I want to have sex. I want to do drugs. I want to beat every single person that I come across today because they're annoying. No one understands me. Guys, that music isolates us.
Yep.
Even though, the crazy part about it is it isolates us, even though we are in the same boat as a lot of people, because everybody's dealing with the same fleshly temptation, but it makes us feel isolated and angry at the world. But if you take music and use it for the glory of God and what it was designed to do,
right,
guys, there is frequency. There's literally frequency that triggers things in our mind. It is an addiction. And so it's one of those things where music, you cannot let music control you.
Yeah.
But instead we use music to glorify as an instrument. And here's the thing, if we don't praise, if we don't use music to worship God, he's going to find it in the rocks.
Yeah.
And to that
the
point,
mountains will cry out.
Yeah, they will. And to that point, worship is an amazing tool when we're battling for our peace, when we're battling for our hope, and when we're battling for our joy. Music is, and we'll get into this another day, but music is or worship with music is one of the most powerful weapons we have in our bags.
Amen. So I guess we're going to end there, guys, because this is a topic I think I kind of feel led to keep going on. I think we should create a series on music and how God has designed it for our benefit. But much like how he created us for him, I believe he created music for him as well. And we just get to enjoy that gift. But guys, we love you. We're sorry that this one was so short, but we hope that you get a little taste for what's to come. We can't wait to continue this conversation. Again, reach out to us if you have any questions. As Harlie always says, if you want to hear some freedom rock, reach out to us at wehearthemusic47@gmail.com. If you want to hear some Amy Grant, we'll throw it out there. If you want to hear some Stryper, we'll throw it out there. If you want to hear some Lecrae, we'll throw it out there. But we love you guys, and as we always say on our Marco Polo, shalom. My name is Aaron.
Harlie.
This is
Harlie. This is Trey.
Love you guys. Shalom.
Shalom.